A couple more problems from 11.3, a couple of word problems. First one here we're going to look at is number 16 on page 660. And we have a situation here. Jill purchases a stereo system for $1,500 and makes a 15% down payment. She repays the loan in 12 equal payments. If the finance charge is 7% simple interest, we want to estimate the APR to the nearest 10th of a percent. Now here's the APR formula. This is a pretty simple formula. Try not to make this a more difficult question than it is. All we're looking at here when you're asked for the APR is this formula, where R is the rate and N is the number of payments. And that's all we're looking at here. Now, we don't even need the down payment here. It doesn't come into play with our APR. But 15% of the down payment is $225, which would give us a remaining amount of $1,275. But again, that doesn't come into play when we're asked this question about APR. APR is just simply this formula with the rate, which we're given is 7% simple interest, and the N is the number of payments, and we're told that that's 12 equal payments. So we're just plugging these numbers into this formula, 2NR over N plus 1, coming up with a decimal. We were asked to round to the nearest 10th of a percent. Remember, percents, we move the decimal 2 spots to the right, and we get our answer of 12.9%. So that's the APR for this situation. All right, let's look at another word problem. And this one is number 20. And we are purchasing a motorboat for $38,250. We're told the sales tax is 6.5% of that purchase price. And then we're asked 3 questions concerning this situation. So the first question is, what is the total cost? Well, total cost is going to be the purchase price plus the tax. Okay? We're told the tax is 6.5% of that purchase price. So this is how we're going to calculate the tax. 6.5% of the purchase price. Throw that into your calculator. You see you come up with this value for the tax. And we add that number to the purchase price, right? Tax plus purchase price will give us the total cost. Purchase price plus tax, this is our total cost. $40,736.25 is the answer to part A. All right. Part B says, what is the down payment of 20% of that total cost? Well, once we got the total cost, all we have to do is take 20% of that total cost, and that's going to give us our down payment. So this is the down payment. It's 20% of that total cost. Once we make that down payment, we take that value away from the total cost. We're going to get this remaining amount. So we have $32,589 remaining, which is 80% of the cost, right? Because we paid 20%. So you can find 20% and subtract it from the total, or you can realize this is 80% of the total since we paid 20%. Either way, you're going to get this to be your remaining amount. This is your answer to B. You were asked for the down payment, but you need this number to answer part C. So for part C, we're asked the monthly payment for that remaining amount if it takes 3 years and given this rate. Well, this is our formula for monthly payment, the remaining amount. Then we take the rate over, N is always going to be 12 for this question about monthly payments. N will always be 12. And then we have 1 minus 1 plus the rate over N raised to the negative NT. So we have the rate, we have R, we have T, N is always 12, and that's all we need, other than the remaining amount. So we plug all the known values into that formula. Remaining amount, R over N, I'm going to show you how to do this on the calculator. What I want you to do is put this into your calculator and store it to a letter A. And then, so once you'll have this number, that's the same as this, then you're going to add 1 to that and raise it to this exponent and store that to a letter B on your calculator. And then it just comes down to this calculation, the original or the remaining amount, A over 1 minus B, and that's going to give us our monthly payment. So let's go to our calculator to see how to put this in to our calculator. All right, here we go. Let's clear this. All right, so once again, we're going to take that 0.057, that was the rate of interest, and divide that by our N of 12. We get a result. Now, I don't want to have to keep putting that into my formula, so I'm going to store it. If you have this store button on your calculator, if you don't, well, then you're going to have to do it, a little longer way and write this number down or remember it or try to put it in all at once. But this is why you need a decent calculator if you want to do well in a class like this. So now we're going to store this to a letter. Notice these letters, A, B, C, D, they are in green. So that's the alpha button. You have to hit the alpha button first, then go to the button with the A on top, and then hit enter. And now every time you go to A and hit enter, you're going to get that value. So we've stored that value to the letter A. All right. Now I'm going to add 1 to that because that's what's inside the parentheses. And I'm going to raise that to the negative 36. Okay, so I took that A value. Let's go back here for a second. I took that A value that I found, which is this same fraction, and I added 1 to it, and I raised it to the negative nt. Right? N is 12, 3 is t, negative n times t. That's where we're getting this negative 36. So this was my A. I've taken that A and added 1 and raised to the negative 36, and I'm going to store that to B. Right? So I've taken the A value, I've added 1 to it, and now I'm raising that to the negative 36. That's what I'm going to store to B. When I hit enter, now every time I go back to B, I'm going to get that value. So now all I have to do is take the 32,589, that was the remaining amount, and multiply that and put this in parentheses. The numerator is going to be A, and the denominator, I'm going to divide, and I'm going to put the whole denominator in parentheses also, of 1 minus B. I'm going to close the parentheses on the denominator. I'm going to close the parentheses on the whole fraction. And this is going to be my monthly payment. 986, let's call it 987. $987 is going to be the monthly payment. All right. So we bought the motorboat. We figured out what the tax was. We added that to the total to get the total cost. We subtracted a 20% down payment from that total cost to get the remaining amount. And then we financed that remaining amount at 5.7% for 3 years using our monthly payment formula. We calculate that number and come up with our monthly payment. All right, good times.